Hi lovelies. Right, I'm going to show you how I usually do my evening wet set. I like to wet set my hair because it just lasts so much longer for me than a heated set does. If I need my hair to look good for that evening, then I will do a heated set. If I need it to last, then I'll do a wet set. Because the heated set, I tend to get less frizz and it looks perfect pretty much straight away. With a wet set, I kind of like my hair on the second and third days. On the first day, it's kind of, I still get some frizz, no matter how much brushing. But it's manageable, it's kind of cute in like a 1930s kind of big sort of way. So I kind of manage it that first day. But if I want it to look a specific way, then I'll generally try and like heat set it. But because my hair's been through so much, I try and stay away from heat as much as possible, really. Now my fringe, as I've said, is growing out. You have to excuse me, I've not been very well the last week. I've had tonsillitis, so my brain's a little bit fuddled and my voice is kind of got that smoker's kind of, is it sexy, is it not, sort of rumble to it, which, yeah, might go at any point. So yeah, this is my trusty Tigi comb, which has a bit of hair in it. And I will show you the length of my fringe. I've started wearing it quite high lately. I quite like it, like a big quiff, but I'll just brush this out. So I found a new hairspray that I really like, which is called Sebastian Reshaper, because it brushes out, yeah, fringe, it brushes out really nicely and it holds amazing. Now obviously I live in Edinburgh and it is super windy, it rains sideways, everything is sideways, snows sideways, everything hits you sideways. So it's got to be a really good hairspray to kind of withstand Edinburgh weather, really. So the Sebastian one, I've tried loads. Net's quite good, but this Sebastian Reshaper is just hands down the best one. And it brushes out really quite easily. There wasn't, we saw a little bit of whiteness floating about there, but doesn't really leave too much of a residue on your hair. And yeah, it comes out quite nice. So this is pretty much the length of my Betty fringe at the minute. So I'll be showing you some different kind of styling options to use when you're growing out your Betty fringe, because you can still see that I've got these random like short bits here, because obviously with a Betty fringe it kind of curls around. So I just pretend they don't exist, really, when I'm trying to do my hair. So you can actually do this dry if you want to. You can do a dry roller set and you just hairspray the sections and kind of go in. Or you can use spray bottle. I really like this as well. Not sure if you can see what that says. But it's the Small Talk Bedhead Thickener, Energizer, Styler, many things. It smells of like blueberries or just awesome. It smells awesome. It's really nice on the hair, and I found that it works really well as a kind of a setting lotion for me, because I don't like using normal setting lotion, because as I said, my hair's been bleached and coloured, and setting lotion, if you use it quite a lot, I think can be quite damaging to your hair. So I'm just going to show you my basic way that I do a roll set for my everyday styles. There's loads of different ways to do roll sets. I'll probably go over some of them in different videos. You can curl the hair kind of that way and it'll give you more of a ringlet and sit close to the head. I'm going to curl it under, it gives you a bit more volume and it gives you kind of like a bit more of a wave. You can roll some under and some over, and that'll give you more of an S wave. So there's lots of different ways, and I'll show you how to do them another time. I'm just showing you my basic one at the minute. I've got an itchy nose. I also like to use these, which are curl papers, because my hair has got those layers in, and I do have a little bit of problems with a little bit of frizz when I'm brushing it out, so that just kind of helps me a little bit tame the frizz. Now, I'm just going to rub a little bit of that Small Talk through my hair. So I'm pretty much going to show you both sides of the front and a little bit of the back, and I won't bore you with the whole process. It's actually pretty quick to do this, and I know that you're thinking, oh, I can't be bothered to do it every night, but once you've done the first night on hair that's pretty straight, then the next day when you do it, I don't even follow the same pattern particularly, I just roll it up, because the hair's curly anyway, it really likes being rolled up, so I won't even bother wet setting it or doing anything to it. I'll just roll it back up into the curlers, and I then put a silk headscarf on just to stop any static or anything like that from making my hair frizzy. So I get my 2 front bang sections, look at me being all American, fringe section, and I tend to do that in 2 curlers. And the curlers that I've got are just from Boots. You can get them from most drugstores. You don't want your hair to be soaking, you just want it to be a little bit damp. And I'm not going to use any end papers on my fringe because it doesn't really matter if I have any frizz, because I'm just going to roll it under. And these are the larger, they're not large, but they're the kind of medium size rollers. And if you find a lot of mistakes with rollers, and the reason you'll get a lot of frizz is if you roll them too tightly, they will do this, and they'll get misshapen, and that's how you know you've rolled it too tightly, and that will give you frizz because you've created like a smaller curl. If this happens, just wet them, leave them to dry, and then they'll just pop back into shape. So, and go right to the end, and you want to make sure that you're tucking all that hair under, and just keep rolling it. And I'm rolling this what is called off base, which means that I'm going kind of under. On base would give you kind of more volume, and you would start here, and it just means that it will sit on the base of the hair there, and it'll give you much more kind of volume at the crown, that sort of thing. I tend to roll all mine off base. If you were doing a Marilyn look, then you might want it on base, and you might want them to all go backwards. I tend to do mine down to the sides and then down the back, but a lot of people do like a roll all the way down at the back, which is fine. The only problem with coloured hair is, especially brightly coloured hair, spray myself in the eye, is that it kind of comes off on your hands sometimes, especially when you've just done it. But the Pravana's pretty good for not transferring, to be honest. Now, a fringe is always quite tricky to roll because I have all those loads of different lengths. So it's just a case of keeping tucking it in. And then pop that across. Now, there is a little tip. If you get some of these little duckbill clips, because you can see here that there's kind of this little bar sitting on the ridge, what you can do is flip it forward and then duckbill that into place, and that'll just stop that from getting a ridge across your hair. And I only tend to do that with the top kind of sections. It just stops you getting like a horrible ridge up there. So that's one option that you can do. As I say, I don't really bother about it with my fringe, to be honest, because I backcomb it and hairspray it quite a lot. So I'll show you tomorrow the brush out process, which is generally the most scary bit. So then I just section off into 3 sections. So I have my 2 front sections, a giant back section, clip them back. And the nice thing is, this generally lasts me about 3 to 4 days. I only wash my hair maybe twice a week, once or twice a week. Just because it's coloured, and I don't think you should wash your hair too often anyway. But this will last me a good 2 or 3 days with nice curls, and then on the end I'll tend to wear it up, but because it's got the curl in it, it's so much easier to control and to bend upwards. So I'm going to divide that again. Now the less hair that you put into the roll, the more curl you're going to get. That was a completely perfect, seamless blink. I just ran out of memory, so I just had to go and quickly upload some stuff. Right, so anyway, I've sectioned off 3 bits of hair. That was kind of where I was at. And then I'm just going to start on this little section here. Damp it down with a bit of water. As I say, you don't want it to be soaking, you just want it to be a little bit damp. So my kind of goal for really my videos is to try and not say quite as much and not use other random words. I'll keep using so and but who knows. So I've just straight away, so I've added end papers, and they are to protect the ends of the hair. They're brilliant for if you're doing any heat styling or any kind of curling like this where you want to really keep those ends tucked in, because if the ends flip out when you're doing things like this, you get horrible kind of frizzy, what's called fish hook ends, which no matter how much you brush them, they tend to just poke out and just not look very nice. So that just kind of goes on like that, and I'm twisting under. And then I'm just going to clip it down like that. So some people don't like sleeping in these kind of foam rollers. I actually don't mind them. I've tried sleeping in the really big ones and I can't handle them. I've tried sleeping in the bendy perm rod sort of little ones. I don't like them either. These I actually can more or less deal with, so they kind of work for me. You can also put them in on a morning and you can hair dry them if you want, or you can just wander about the house till they're dry, because that kind of defeats the object of not using heat if you're going to hair dry them. I'm going to take my next section. I'm trying to look in the mirror kind of behind the camera, see what I'm doing too. So the bigger the sections, the looser the curl will be. The smaller the sections, the smaller the curl. So if you want super curly hair, put lots of sections in, lots of curlers in. I don't like mine being too curly. I like it to have a bit more curl around the front. So I'm going to split this into 2. Now, as I say, this is my basic roller set that I kind of go to most days, but if I was trying to get a nice S-wave shape, then I'd use a different set, which I'll show you in a different video. Adding the end papers does take a little bit more time when you're doing your set, but it's definitely worth it. I tend to move on to the very smallest rollers now, just to give a smaller curl around the face, because that's where I want most of my curls to be. Now, be really careful when you're winding the hair up, because if you do it too tightly, you'll get a lot of frizz as well. So I'm just kind of going to do this side for you, because it can get a bit boring. And I don't want to get fancy and speed up videos and doing the whole head, because it's basically just going to be this around the head. Other than when I get to the back and I keep it quite loose, because I don't like having my curls from right back up here. I like quite a vintage set, and you tend not to have that many curls at the top because of wearing hats and things, so the crown tends to be quite flat. So you can see that you get quite quick at it once you've been doing it up well. And as I say, once you've done your first night's wet set, you can carry on doing it the next few nights just to refresh it, and you don't have to keep kind of pinning it up and that sort of thing. Just wet it. So my next video, I think, will be on probably a nice kind of updo, I think. Something that's quite easy to do at home, quite fun. If any of you get a chance to get to Edinburgh, I work quite a lot out of Miss Dixie Belle, which is a vintage salon and shop, which is in Edinburgh. So that's worth a look in, and come and say hi. I've totally missed a bit of hair there. It's the beauty of it, just go back in, put it back in. That's the only thing with layers that you've got to keep kind of an eye out for. Some of them can be very sneaky. You can see the end papers really help keep those ends in. You can just get them from, I think you can get them from Boots. I got mine from Sally's. The hair does not want to stay. Once we get it wrapped up, it'll be fine. So the most exciting bit's the brush out, which I will show you in the morning. My hair looks crazy, and because it's this colour, I kind of look a little bit like Krusty the Clown, which is fun. And that's the bit where most people freak out, is with the brush out, and they tend to brush it a little bit and then go crazy because it's gone all frizzy and they don't know what to do with it, so they go and wash it. But I'll show you some tricks of how to keep it from being as frizzy, and it is really just brushing through that frizz. So I'm just going to do these. Put that down. So what you can do to stop yourself having a ridge here, which can happen, is get these little clips. I might have said this already, but I'm not sure it's saved. And I am going to do it here, just on the top section of hair. Let's just flip that back round, clip it down, just so I don't get a horrible ridge kind of in my do. You shouldn't open them with your teeth, it's very bad. In. So that one down. So then, yep, I would just repeat exactly the same on that side. And then in the back, I actually just, I don't use that many in the back. And I just split it into two sections. And I do the whole of this bottom section. And then I do the whole of the top section. But I only roll the top section up to here, because I don't want all this volume at the top of the crown. So I'm only going to roll it like halfway. This I roll all the way up, and I use the bigger rollers for that. Then basically I just put on a headscarf just to stop any friction from my pillows or anything like that. There's my hands again. Just to stop it making any more frizz. So it's all about trying to stop as much frizz as possible, but still getting a really nice style. So I will carry on doing the rest of my hair, and I will see you in the morning for the brush out, which is the most exciting bit. Bye, see you soon.